Well, hello and welcome to Black Men Speak. I'm your host, Keith Dent, and this is a show that highlights ordinary Black men doing extraordinary things. Welcome to our first week in November. As you know, hopefully um, you were able to turn your clocks back today, but now with now with our cell phones, they kind of do it for us. I'm sure you didn't have to worry about that, but I'm glad to be here. We're going to have a great show today because the guest we have on is a friend of mine, but he is a beast when it comes to cycling, as far as I'm concerned, and definitely was a testament to a journey that we had this summer, which I'll go into. But on June 30th, 2019, a life was saved, he would say. Um, And then that was the day that he got on his bike and went no, not 200, 100 miles. And why, you ask? You'll just have to wait to hear his story. But one of the mantras that came out of that, his journey was, when it comes to cycling, you have to just keep pedaling to move forward. And he uses that. And I think just what he's doing is a testament to how you can live your life. And I'm really excited to just hear more about that and his journey. And I kind of hopped on his journey this summer because I read about his story. And it's like, oh yeah, that sounds great. Let me do that as well. Not knowing that the 100-mile journey would turn into a 200-mile journey. And that journey I just was not prepared for. He probably would have said, look, keep going, you can do it. But my mentally just was not prepared for that. But I have to say it really was a fantastic time. But the guest I'm going to bring on, or is here with us, is Daniel Morteh. He's an avid cycler, fitness enthusiast, that used cycling not only to save his life but also transformed it, especially during the pandemic. So, Daniel, welcome to the show. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. So, yes. So let's just talk. So you have this wonderful shirt on. I know it's a little bit maybe hard to see a little bit, but
Yeah.
bikes will save the world. And so I really want to know why you created this organization, or it's really a mantra that you kind of live by. So I'd love to hear that and why you felt the need to put, that out there.
Oh, well, thank you. Um, I started this journey, Bikes Will Save the World, during the pandemic. I work at a lot of gyms, and all the gyms got shut down. So there really wasn't nothing to do. I was like, I got a little money saved up. Unemployment should be kicking in. So I decided to just ride. So I was riding, clocking maybe 200 to 300 miles a week. And I just met a whole bunch of people that just got started into cycling. And I've been cycling for a couple of years. But the reasons why they got into cycling at that exact time was very similar to mine, why I continued to cycle, why I ride as much as I did during that time. It brings people together. It provides an outlet to de-stress during probably the most uncontrollable and chaotic times, the pandemic. And you were also dealing with racial tensions. And that was a time when I'm riding, I would see people of different races, nationalities, sexual preference, and genders, all together, uniting together to reach a common goal of just getting to a destination on a bike. And it was the elements were something we needed in the world, and I saw that all on the road riding with people. So that's why I was like, bikes will save the world, and it's something that I wanted to promote to many people, as many people as possible. If they're going through really tough times, stressful times, they don't know how to like just express themselves or relieve themselves of that stress. Cycling has been a godsend for me personally. So I want to make sure that everyone knows that you have this outlet to help you get through whatever you have in life, whatever you're going through in life.
And that's fascinating because you don't really think of a kind of a inanimate object, that to save your life. You think about other things, therapy, um, sometimes medication, or just actually being in connection with people to help save lives. So you had mentioned, and I mentioned earlier, that you actually in 2019 on June 30th specifically decided to get on your bike, and you felt that moment basically saved your life. So I'd love you to touch upon that and tell me, well, one, what was it that you were feeling at the time that you felt compelled to actually get on the bike and ride, and why 100 miles?
Well, I was going. It's a very common story, I guess, but I was going through a breakup. I was in a relationship for 5 years, and I recalled in college going through a breakup, and it was the closest I've ever came to having suicidal thoughts. So when I went through that breakup, I was like, I do not want to have those emotions and feelings again. I want to be in control of that. I couldn't sleep one night, and the sun rose. I had my bike there, and I just started riding, and I still kept thinking about it, thinking about the relationship and everything that's going to be changing. And so I looked at my Strava, which is an app that most cyclists use, and I said, I am not getting off this bike until this Strava app says 100 miles today. So I just got on, and during that ride, I met people, got reintroduced to people. I bumped into Major Taylor during that ride, which was great. And then when they were done with their ride, they was like, "What are you going to do for the rest of the day?" I'm like, "I still got 30 more miles to do." So I continued doing my miles. In fact, when I got home, close to home, I just did laps around the park until I finished 10 more miles. And then when I got home, I was just like, okay, first month, last month, security deposit, my life, I can get this in order. It made me feel like I had more control of my life because I was in more control of my emotions at the time.
Mm,
And I credit that to a bicycle. And I've been using that ever since. It really helps clear my mind in order to plan my life.
mm,
Cycling, it literally helped me sit down and and find a therapist to see too as well. So it really credits to a lot of things. Keeps my emotions in check, helps me de-stress, keeps everything organized because I want to have time to ride. So I'm like, okay, I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to do this, so I can have time on Sundays to ride.
mm. Let me see. I'm going to try to take off your.
So it really to know.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so then you decided to create an organization based on that actual experience. And so what made you decide to you felt that you wanted to transform this into an organization, and what have you learned from it since you created the organization, which was, I guess, that was done in during the pandemic, 2020, right?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. I wanted to. I wanted to get as many people to ride as possible, and it allowed me to meet new people. It allowed me to help guide them to get to that goal. I want them to know that they can accomplish anything they set their minds to. And a bicycle is a great tool to help you achieve that. It allowed me to help me see that I was not alone. And by creating the organization, I felt like it was a great way to probably help more people. Like through Grocery Bicycles, I host a lot of rides on Sundays. We get a lot of new riders. And at first, the goal is just to get to George Washington Bridge. But then I'm like, hey, do you want to go even farther? And then they go even farther. One time we actually did the ride. We took the ride all the way to Bear Mountain. It allows people to achieve certain goals they didn't think about achieving originally, ever think it's possible to achieve, like 100 miles in one day on a bike.
Hmm.
Most people don't even like to drive that long. So, but once they accomplish that, they're like, oh man, I could take on anything. So it's something that I try to create, try to endorse, and I try to help new people try to guide them to achieve. And I'm trying to develop the organization to grow more than that, to help fundraise. The bike ride to Philadelphia this year was a fundraiser for ride upgrades. I'm doing a lot of new rider initiatives. It's just growing and growing, and I want to see if we can take it as far as we can take it.
Well, that fantastic. And then through that, because I know on the website, um, you actually people give testimonials on
Mhm.
how writing has kind of transformed, them. So, was there any story that you remember that kind of really touched your life, or maybe during one of the rides where someone shared their story that really resonated with you that you'd like to share?
There are many. There are many. One's particularly on the website. A friend of mine, he said, who my friend Julius Kelly. He's an amazing filmmaker. He had entries in Cannes Film Festival. He's done a lot in the 40 years he's been on this planet. But he said the most important achievement he has ever done in his life was teaching his daughter how to ride a bike during this pandemic. I thought that was just absolutely amazing. That
Wow.
really just touched me in many, many ways. And then, there's other stories, people that, were ex-smokers, now they're riding and they're much healthier in life. People survived cancer. There's one of the riders from, Grocery Bicycles who rides a lot representing the store. He is a cancer survivor, and now he rides
Mhm.
just as consistently as I do. So there's a lot of great stories and behind every handlebar, and I love hearing them all. And I loved how cycling connects us all together, because we were at points in our lives where we just didn't know what to do, and the pandemic put us all in that same place at the same time. And when you go on 9W, everyone has that same common thing, and it really is such a really strong source of positive energy that is needed to get through the day.
Great. Yeah, and that's fantastic. Teaching someone how to ride a bike,
Yeah.
because it's such an accomplishment, and just the sheer joy that you always see when someone figures out how to pedal and not
Yes.
to worry about falling.
Yes.
It's really awesome.
I recently just taught a woman how to ride a bike. She's 35 years old, and she's never ridden a bike before. And because of the brand Bikes Will Save the World, she just reached out to me via Instagram and was like, do you give lessons? And at first I wasn't really promoting that because, like, I was actually just nervous, I guess. But then, luckily I had a loaner bike, and she was able to learn how to ride every once a week for like only 3 months. She goes from not being able to balance herself on the bike to just loving every second of being on the bike. And then when we do rides together, because now she's at that point we could just ride together. She sees born in she's been living in Jersey City for like 20 years, and then she through a bike, she see parts of the city she's never seen before. She's enjoying the transportation and the commuting, unlike any other time that she ever had before, because she was dealing with cars and all the frustration of that. Her energy from riding changed so much in such a positive way, to a point where now it's a part of her life. I was just speaking with her today. She's already planning on buying like a legit road bike now. You know?
Oh, that's great. Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe you'll get her on that 100-mile bike ride,
Yeah.
in June. Yeah, and so let's kind of move to that. So, um, I guess 2 years ago, you decided to ride to Philly
Hmm.
from Jersey City. Um, was that something that just organically happened, or and how did you decide to just do that? And why Philly for of all places to go?
Well, first of all, Philly's cool. That's one thing. And me and my cycling partner. Jeff. We ride almost everywhere together. Like if I'm not riding with Major Taylor, I'm riding with him. In fact, I ride with him more than I ride with Major Taylor. And we wanted to celebrate. Our birthday is literally a day apart. We're decades. We have a decade gap in age, but our birthday is just a day apart. And we decided, yo, we both like cheesesteaks. We both ride. Let's ride to Philly. And it just organically happened like that. But then some more friends that we ride with were like, "Oh, can I come along?" And I'm like, "Sure." Can I come along? Sure. And then a few other friends said, "Oh, I have a friend that rides. She'll love to tag along." So there was like maybe 4 people I'd never met that showed up on the 14th of June, 2020, to do this ride. Some of them never done 100 miles before. And we rode all the way to Central Philly to get cheesesteaks. And it was a great place to go, not only just for the cheesesteaks, but I also have a friend that lives like 2 blocks away, Renata. So we was able to crash at her house for a couple hours before we had to take the train back. It was so much fun. We legit said, we're doing this again next year. And then last June, we did it again. Only this time we doubled the amount of miles.
Yeah. So I got bamboozled. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll do 100 miles. I'll get on that. And then I was like, oh wait, you're going 200 miles there and back. So I want well, one, before we talk about how was it, what was the difference between the ride this year and last year? But I do have to say that the camaraderie of the people that were riding, and they were all different skill levels, was truly remarkable, because it was truly a kind of I would say it was a team concept. There were many stops along the way, but no one was really trying to outdo anyone on the ride, which I thought was great, because you had black, white, you had women, you had men, just enjoying, I guess, the journey. And that's probably really what Bikes Saves the World
Yeah.
is all about, the journey to where you want to get to.
Yeah. It's never about competing with someone. Never, like competing with someone so that person will feel like they're not as good. Like, what's the point? But it's a group of friends that love each other, that is helping each other get to that destination. It's probably difficult for all of us individually to say we're going to ride to Philly alone. So we're both teamed up together. We have all this energy, and it allowed us all to have teamwork to push, push, push to get to Philly. And it is the main and only reason why we were able to actually turn around the following day and do it again. Only it was only 6 people the second day. The other 6 was smart.
Yeah. So that turnaround, was that tough getting back?
Uh, the last 30 miles, yes. The last 30 miles was like, it wasn't the first time I've done back-to-back centuries. But it was difficult for one thing. One, I have electronic gear shift.
Okay.
So I have DI2s. Your mom always tells you, to make sure your phone is charged before you leave the house. I didn't charge it. So with like 90 miles to go, I was on one gear the entire, for 90 miles. So that was what made it really difficult for me. But I was also like, my girlfriend was the support vehicle. I was not going to jump in the car and say I can't do it. So I continued riding for the rest of the way. So that's what made the last 30 miles like really tough. But to be honest, like I couldn't imagine any other way to celebrate a birthday and any other way to go through that than with the people I was with. So we all helped each other get there. We all helped each other to achieve a goal that not many of us would have achieved on our own, and not many of us would have thought about achieving. And that's the best part about it. I learned through that ride that there's a difference between saying I wish and I can't and I won't. People say, "Oh, I can't do this," and they confuse it. They confuse the word "I can't" with "I won't." It's not that you can't; you just won't. I'm grateful that I can say I did this, so that when I get older and I know I can't,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say
Right, right.
I wish,
Yeah,
so that was,
and you've gotten the comment that sounds like you have an awesome girlfriend. I'm guessing that it's Kristen's mom that's saying those things, but I don't know. But
yeah, yeah,
I could probably venture a guess. But also in an article. Well, back to that. I want to backtrack a little bit. My dad always says that you choose not to do something. So if you're saying you can't do it, it's not that you can't. You're
yeah,
choosing not
yeah,
to do it. And that's a great thing. You just have to make the choice and do it. And if it takes maybe longer to get to your destination, the fact that you've actually taken the leap really
yeah.
speaks volumes. And so that's great. So also in one of I know an article that I read about you, you had talked about riding, and while riding, you have to know when to go hard, coast, and enjoy the ride. So in cycling, when do you find that you do those things? And then how does that transform to actually your life? When do you feel you have to go hard? When do you feel you coast and like enjoy life?
Yeah. I think for in the terms of cycling, I think everyone who lives in the metropolitan area who's an avid cyclist, the biggest goal or the biggest hurdle to accomplish is an area called Bear Mountain. And if you ever done Bear Mountain, you know exactly what I'm talking about, how difficult that ride is. It's exactly what it is. You're climbing a mountain. The
Mm,
incline is absolutely insane. It's absolutely difficult. But once you get there, you feel so accomplished. And then you're able to enjoy that really fast coasting all the way back down. You know, you did all that work just to enjoy that moment of feeling like you're a bird and feeling like you're free and feeling like you've accomplished something great. And it's always, getting ready for a tough ride like that. You know, you look at the mountain, you're planning on what type of gears at what point to use, understanding how your body is. You know, if you prepped and fueled properly, that's why the night before you always plan, you always prep, you always drink a lot of water, you eat a lot of carbs, all that stuff, and then you go hard on it, and then when you finally get up that hill, you know what I'm saying, you just go back down with that sense of accomplishment. It's very symbolic to life in many ways, before you have this problem or have to have this task, you try to plan as much as you can, and then when you're in the middle of that process, depending on the situation, knowing when to like improvise, change gears in many ways, but just no matter what, keep going. There's a lot of things that I want to accomplish. There's a lot of things that I want to do, and I cycling really taught me is to keep going, because once you get on top of that mountain, you're gonna feel so accomplished, and then you can enjoy the easy part of it, the accolade, the acclaim, the moment of achievement, which is the ride down. This pandemic was definitely the reset that I needed, because I was in just, I wouldn't say a lost situation. I just didn't know where to go with my life and my career. I graduated in film,
mm.
and I couldn't really get much work in film work, so I kind of changed up to, I got a job working at a gym, and slowly just got so much interested in the gym that I got my spinning license, spinning certification, so I teach spin, teach TRX. I'm still working on my personal training. um, but I'm doing a lot of classes, a lot of group fitness classes. So I'm planning out my career in many ways. I'm getting a lot of information about certain work and certain programs that provide like master's programs and stuff like that. So it's helping me improvise, going through this journey to reach a certain level in my career to where I'm like, I can coast and enjoy being this individual. And that's what cycling really helped me, really be hungry for, and plan out, the rest of my life. But one thing
Yeah.
about planning out the rest of my life, one thing that's going to be consistent will be a bicycle.
Oh, great. Yeah, and so the changing gears, it basically symbolizes, what you were able to do in your life, from film to now personal training and those things. And so that's thank you for that. And um, so you had mentioned that you were at a point where you felt that you had had some suicidal thoughts. But I know in kind of our talks from before, you felt that you kind of had to keep it secret or hidden. And why did you feel that way? And what made you decide to uh, kind of shift gears and be more a little bit more candid about some of the things that you went through?
Um, I, 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 I always to a point where it was not healthy enough, saying, um, stop complaining. There's people that have it worse. That is absolutely true. But there should be moments where, like your feelings and your emotions should be valid. So, unfortunately, I just grew up with that state of mind of just keeping it to myself and keep going. You know what I'm saying? But, you keeping it bottled up, it really becomes really toxic into your mind and into your soul. So when I was going through that situation in college where I had close to suicidal thoughts, but something really amazing happened around that time. What I'm saying, having those thoughts, and that scared me to death. And that was my senior year of college, majoring in film. And then I was just like, I got work to do, So I, just cashed out a student loan and went to B&H, bought a whole bunch of film equipment, and started my career like immediately. I started doing film projects, started doing photography gigs. I got hired to do to do a documentary in Cuba. I had a good run because that moment scared me, and I never want to get close to that moment. Fast forward to when I was dealing with that breakup. I immediately was like, I don't want to go get close to having those emotions again. Like, don't ever want to feel that weak and vulnerable again. So I picked up, and I was already cycling for a good couple of years before then. So I was just like, let me get on that bike. But that was the first time I literally got on the bike and was like, I'm gonna do 100 miles all by myself, And that was probably the moment that I needed so much that helped reset everything else in life. So when the pandemic happened, I already had a game plan, already had everything ready, and it really helped provide that. But I kept it secret up until I felt like I had everything in control and I was able to talk about it. Um, you know, over the past over the past pretty much 2 years now, we've been dealing with such a huge pandemic that has been really taking a toll on a lot of people's mental health. I felt like it was time to really be open and honest about like, this is what was going on with me. This is why you probably noticed on Facebook I was doing 60, 70 miles a day at one point, because I was just trying to clear my head as much as possible. And and finding out that a lot of people were doing the same really helped out. And I just wanted to reach more people and be like, you're not alone. There's outlets and ways to handle that. You can't keep it bottled in. And cycling really helped me realize like I also need to talk to someone. So like I'm paying out of my own dime, but I've been seeing a therapist and it's been helping out a great deal.
Wow, wow. And that's a kind of a big challenge, especially for our Black men in our communities, feeling, I guess, courageous enough to actually say that they need help. And so, was there any specific moment, or have you come across anyone where you had to you saw someone that was in need and you reached out and kind of gave them your testimony? And what was the if you did, what was the result and how did they respond to that?
a few of them joined me in rides. You have the conversation about, yeah, I'm saying, me and my wife are having issues, or I'm saying, I'm not sure what's going on with work, and just simple conversations, uh, and listening to them really helps. And they will call me the next day and be like, yo, dude, like, honestly, that really helped out. That really helped me. And there's many people that have literally messaged me talking about how, like, I guess I am very inspiring, and it helped them. They motivated them to get on a bike, and they reached out to me and be like, I was going through this, but then I saw what you were doing, and then I started riding too, and it really, really helps out. And it's one of the reasons why, like, saying, I'm continuing Bikes to Save the World as much as possible, because the feedback has been amazing, absolutely amazing. And I mean, if it helps one person, like, like, I do the bike MS ride. If one person, I'm saying, with MS finally, has a better life, then it's totally worth it. The bike to Philly, we were going to get cheesesteaks anyway. If we were able to get a kid a bike, then it'll be worth it. So, to continue this going, and then to know the fact that it really helps people emotionally and mentally to get into more positive points in their lives, then it's totally, totally, totally worth it. And it's something that I want to continue doing for as long as possible.
Great. And so, with bikes that save the world, like bikes will save the world. What's next, or where do you see the organization going for 2022 and beyond?
I hope for sponsorships. I hope we can actually put together longer bike rides, like bike packing trips. Me and my friends, we call ourselves the JC Goonies. We ride all the time together. During the winter, we rode to breweries and back. We now we're thinking about going beyond that, and I would love to, like, host rides very similar to that. I've been working with Grove Street Bicycles, probably the top bike shop in Jersey City. It's a really awesome shop that has amazing sales tax, like 3% on bikes. So I already got a few bikes on hold right now there, and I hope that we can put together, like, biking events. There's certain routes, week-long bike packing trips. We've been working with Bike JC, which is a bicycle advocacy group in the area, and we've been trying to get the Essex Hudson Greenway finalized so that we can actually have a trail from Jersey City to Montclair. It'll help out a great deal in terms of transportation and health, a variety of things. And I definitely want Bikes Will Save the World to be a strong part of that. Definitely start an actual company and corporation that helps get kids of all ages, races, backgrounds, together and just ride, and to get into bikes, learning about bike mechanics. I think, getting a kid a bike and having him learn how to fix it himself really helps a lot with him learning mechanics and basic engineering skills, and hopefully put together a program that provides that.
Yeah, adults can use that as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh, man. I still have stem problems on my new bike. I'm, like, trying to fix.
I would definitely join that class. Yeah, because I meant to say, when I went to Bear Mountain, because I did the MS ride as well. First time, I told my wife, I was like, "Oh, I'm going to do the Century," because she had just ran in the marathon just a couple years ago, and that was probably the craziest thing I'd ever done, because I was on that mountain. I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna be a brother left up here," because I was cold. It was cold, and I was definitely tired, but by the time I
Mhm.
got back, there was probably very few. You know how when the marathon, those last riders that are
Oh
coming back
yeah.
in the dark. I was one of those riders
Hmm.
coming back, and and I didn't fall at all, except right when I got to the finish line. The guy was trying to hand me the medal, and I ended up falling on the bike. So there you go. Yeah, so it was pretty crazy, but I do. Yeah, appreciate you talking about Bear Mountain and just the challenge that you have to go through just to get up the hill and down, and this serious accomplishment you feel when you complete it. So kudos that you do it on a regular basis. Um, so one of the things that I wanted to ask, and thank you for being on tonight, but you recently, I think you kind of took bikes will save the world on international as you took your trip to Ghana this summer.
Mm.
And so um, was what was it like to go back? I think you because you're from Ghana, correct?
I'm the
Um,
only born American in my immediate family.
right.
My half brother was born in Brooklyn, but my immediate family, my sister, my mom, and my
Mm.
father, all I'm the first only born American in the family.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
what was it like? What was it like to go and to I kind of because I think you did present your bikes will save the world there. So what was the reception like when you went?
Uh, Going back always feels. I went when I was 5, 15, 35, and this past June. And it wasn't until the last two times, being much more mature, much older, it feels like going home. Even though I was born and raised here, it just feels like going home. So seeing uncles I haven't seen in almost 2 decades, seeing
Mm,
my father's grave, my grandparents' grave, going into the house my mother was born in. You know what I'm saying? It was all just like surreal. But going there, and they were just proud to see that I'm just doing well. Getting through, and and I while I was over there, I bought a bike, and rode out there. The It's very common to see a lot of cycling. I'm saying, I'm saying people
mm,
just using a bike just to get from point A to point B. They're in flip flops. It's completely rusted. They have no idea about bike mechanics, and they're just getting across to get to work or whatnot. So, saying cycling is very common there. Me going there with Bikes to Save the World seemed they saw something different about it. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't just getting to work or getting to transportation. Um, and it was something that I was very, very, very well aware of. So when I went to a department store, bought a bike for like $250, rode it around for maybe 3 days because I just really wanted to ride while I was over there. And I wanted to make sure that, when I left, I gave it to someone who needed it. And one of the local kids in the area that lives in the same compound with my mom, he runs errands for his parents all the time. So I was just like, yo,
mm.
you want a bike? He was like, okay, yeah. What I'm saying? He was completely floored. He was completely surprised and shocked. And it was a beautiful, I gave him a t-shirt too as well. And it was just a really awesome, awesome moment to just say that you're doing something as simple as giving someone a bike. And it's a huge deal. Like it might change everything. Just help him out. Even if it helps him out a little bit more, getting more stuff for his parents. It really just changes the dynamics of that child's life. It's a really surreal feeling, and the fact that every time I go to another country, I'm going to do the exact same thing: buy a bike. What I'm saying, give it to a kid that probably needs it.
Wow. That's great story because I know. I mean, even though I knew that, I'm glad that you shared it because it shows that just an act of kindness can really go about and just change someone's life. And the fact that you did that by using your platform and a bike will change this kid's life forever because now he's already doing something for his parents, doing the errands,
Mm-hmm.
and doing the important stuff for his family, and now he feels like he can do it in a much more efficient way, and maybe feel like he's growing up. So that's great. Congratulations on that. So um, as you know, or as you remember, I always like to end our show with a question, and so I can't wait to hear. Maybe it's changed, but the question really is: as right now, on November 7th, how are you feeling as a black man right now?
Oh man, Compared to the last time, a little bit more in control of my future, a little bit more control of what's in store in the next 5, 10 years. It's funny. I was just thinking about it too. When I'm 38, and this coming June I'll be 39. So you have that countdown to 40. I remember when I was 29 on that countdown to 30, freaking out about it, scared to death because you think at that time you should be really getting ready for the house, the kids, the wife, all that stuff.
Mm,
None of that stuff happened, obviously. um, so, it put me in a huge depression, and I'm saying, of getting to that age. And now I wish I can go back in time and hug that kid and say it's going to
mm,
be okay. I am looking forward to the future. I am having a lot of more fun now than I did when I was in my 20s, and I feel like I'm in control of everything now. Well, most of the things in my life, I have a plan for things I can't control. I learned how, if things are not making you happy in your life, learn to let go. I am grateful that I have really good people in my life. I'm also grateful that there are certain people that left it, and I appreciate them and wish them well. But I realize how much is important to keep them at a certain level of distance at this point in my life now. And it's so good. I feel in a really positive state of mind now. I have really good friends. Being 28, you have your drinking buddies, and now being 38, I have my bike riding buddies. And oh wait, one of them does taxes. One of them gave me stock advice. You're at a certain level of maturity, and then you realize, things get better when you get older. I'm really looking forward, and I think I have a good control of the future. I just got to make sure that I stretch every in the morning first.
okay.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Well, the one of the things that you didn't mention that you have, and I think is the reason why this is such a great thing that you do, is that you're infectious energy. So that I know that's one thing, I know when we first met on a ride, I mean, I knew each other through Rising Tide, but I remember your first time on a ride and you had your music going and I'm like, man, this guy's having a great time.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm
Some
going
people
to
find
try
that
to,
annoying. Actually, it's interesting.
and I was like, I'm going to try to keep up with him. But of course that didn't happen. But the infectious energy that you have, I think really is your key thing that I hope you maintain, because I think everybody that knows you and is around you feels that and loves that about you. So, Daniel, I just wanted to say thank you for being on tonight,
Thank you for
and
having
I'm
me, man.
glad
I
we were able
appreciate
to
it.
do it again. And before we close out, for people that are interested in Bikes Will Save the World, how can they, I guess, hear more about the organization, and if they want to ride on, your rides and hear more about the organization?
Well, they could definitely reach me on Instagram at Bikes Will Save the World. I have the website still open, bikeswillsavetheworld.com. And yeah, those are the pretty much the two main sources that you can reach me. I'm on Facebook. You can friend me at Facebook, Daniel Kofi Morte. Yeah. And, my I can send you my email address as well, daniel.morte@gmail.com. Go ahead. I would love everyone's opinions and feedback. And if they want to reach out in terms of what kind of rides we can do. I want to do like morning coffee rides for people that are like, you know, really, really beginner cyclists, like, I'm saying, they're riding a $4 Huffy, and, we could just ride a couple miles to get coffee. And I also want to do like another ride to Bear Mountain, So I would definitely love to hear from everyone. And, we can definitely, I think cycling brings people together, and I want to continue that, so, you know, let's do
Right.
that.
That's great. Thank you for that. And for those of you who if this is your first time listening to the Black Men Speak live stream podcast, I appreciate you being on tonight. You can listen to past shows on my on your where we get your favorite podcast. It's called the Black Men Speak podcast. There's some great stories on there, and we're going to keep doing this thing because I feel that Black men have a story to tell, and we just need. But the only way we can do it is if we tell our own story. So, Daniel, thank you for being on tonight, and
Thank
we'll
you,
talk
man.
soon.
All right, absolutely, man. Appreciate it.